being spring and everything kind of new all around us, the topic that you were going to begin to touch on today I thought was really interesting, the 12-step program to simplicity. And I know a lot of people are feeling overwhelmed and maybe that you've lost some of your inspiration. What would you suggest to tackle that, Dr. Dyer?
Well, simplicity is one of the things that all of us strive for. I certainly have in my own life, and I've been, very busy, very productive, virtually all of my adult life. But there's been something always at the back of my mind that always reminds me to keep it simple, to keep it uncomplicated. A lot of people who are in the same position that I am, who do the kind of writing and speaking and have all the kinds of commitments and obligations and so on that I do, often have 7 or 8 or 10 or a dozen people even working for them. I see that all the time when I go across the country. I have one person working for me, just one, and she's worked for me for 28 years. Her name is Maya. She lives in Fort Lauderdale. She was born in Finland. And she's never said to me, it's not my job, or I don't do that, or whatever. And she's just, I think when you have a desire to align yourself in a sort of uncomplicated way and keeping yourself close to God, because Socrates had a very a significant observation, a couple thousand years ago. He said he is nearest to God who needs the fewest things. He is nearest to God who needs the fewest things, and the idea that you have to have more, and you also your life has to be very difficult and very complicated, and you have to attend a lot of meetings, and you have to satisfy everybody, and so on. I was just having a conversation with Maya about this 10 minutes ago before the show started, and she was telling me about all the manuscripts that are piling up, that people are sending me and wanting me to read and to endorse them, and the fact is that if I read and endorsed and talked about and critiqued and so on every manuscript that came into my possession, I would do nothing else 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's what I would do, because they come in by the hundreds, literally by the thousands. I've had them coming in, and they get stacked up and stacked up and stacked up. And I've just instructed Maya that's just something that I can't feel guilty about. I can't put my attention on. I can't get myself. I just return them. Just turn them around and just say I'm unable to do that. And there was a time when that would be very bothersome to me, but there was also a time when I would only get 1 or 2 of those a month. So keeping yourself in that position. So I have and I've practiced this in virtually everything, and the universe has always conspired with me when I stay on purpose in this direction. They sent me someone who could handle all of these things, so I didn't have to have all kinds of different people who were doing things for me and so on, agents and managers and all of these people with all of these different titles and so on. I keep it all very, very, very simple. I don't sign contracts. When people ask me to give talks and things like this, if they present a big legal document to me and tell me that we have to do this, there's no other way around it, that's the way that the world works, I always tell them, but that's not the way my world works. And they say, but this is our policy. And I always remind them, I say, you called me, and you should really be asking me what my policy is. And I don't sign legal documents, and I don't, and I just tell you, I give you my word that you're not going to have a problem from me. And if that isn't acceptable to you, then we'll just move on.
Why do you think it's so hard for people to say no?
Well, there's this whole element of that you're being a bad person, that there's something wrong with you if you're turning down somebody else's request. I mean, I get mail by the thousands now, and I have for many, many years, and I have many, many, many people out there who have these great ideas about what it is that they would like to do, and this project that they have, or this particular thing that they're going to do, and so on. And they want me to be a part of it and to get on the board for it and to do all of these kinds of things. And I just very politely say that I'm just not able to do that. And I don't tell myself that I should go around feeling guilty about being able to just say, I want my life to run the way I want it to run, rather than the way somebody else has dictated that it will run. Mm-hmm. And having that kind of confidence in yourself and the belief that it's okay to just say no to these things. And I must say it hasn't always been that easier for me. So let me just go through real quickly through these steps. I don't know if I can get through all of them, but the first one says unclutter your life. You'll simplify your life, and you'll be closer to God, and you'll be a more inspired person. This is in the book Inspiration. It starts on page 102. Unclutter your life. So, which means if you haven't worn it in the past year or two, just recycle it and give it away to others. Just go through your closet. It's a wonderful exercise to do. Go through your closet, pick out everything that you haven't worn in the last 18 months or so, and just get rid of it. Just put it in a pile and pass it along to somebody else. Get rid of old files that take up all this kind of space. Donate unused toys and tools and books and bicycles and all of these kinds of things to charitable people. Go through your garage clutter your life. Get rid of anything that keeps you mired in the state of acquisition and having to have more. And then secondly, clear your calendar of unwanted and unnecessary activities and obligations. So, take a look at that little book that seems to dictate your life and just try to keep days in there and long periods of time in there where you're free to just make yourself available to God. Make yourself available to be and do what it is that you came into this world to do. And then keep your free time free. Be on the lookout for invitations to functions that keep you on top of society's pyramid, but that inhibit your access to joyful inspiration. Truly, everybody out there listening, truly, my most enjoyable kind of an evening is it's not an evening in which I have a whole lot of people over and people are drinking and there's party time and so on. It's an evening alone, an evening of meditation, an evening of reading, an evening of studying. I'm working on a book called Living the Tao, and I read the Tao every day. My job every day right now is to get up in the morning and to read one of the 81 verses of the Tao, to study it, to contemplate it, to think about it, and then to write an essay about how to apply it, to channel the great teachings of Lao Tzu from 2,500 years ago and to listen to that and connect to it. I feel that that's one of the most glorious, exciting, exquisite experiences I've ever had in my life. I laid in bed last night and I was talking to someone that I love very much, and I was just saying, I can't even believe that my job is just to do this wonderful work of studying, 2,500-year-old literature. And to me, it's the most exquisite and peaceful. And I'm in bed 8 o'clock almost every evening, 8:30 at the latest, because I'm up at 3 in the middle of the night. If you saw my PBS show, it's like you remember what Rumi said, the morning breeze or the breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Do not go back to sleep. I love to be awake in the middle of the night when you're closest to God. 4, I say take time for meditation and yoga. When you guys called me to do the show just a little while ago, I said, you've got to give me 5 minutes, and I need 5 more minutes, because I had just come out of a yoga class and I was soaking wet, and I just wanted to, take off those clothes. But for me, doing yoga every day and meditating every day they're not just fun activities that I do to fit in. They are the most important things that I do every single day because they keep me centered. They keep me focused on God. Then I say in here, return to the simplicity of nature. Spend more time outdoors. Spend time amongst the plants and the animals and the trees and hiking and walking. Another thing that I do every single day, because I don't have my life cluttered up with all kinds of meetings and businesses, and as a matter of fact, it's one of the reasons I came to Hay House, because I was with a large publishing house in New York for many, many, many years, and they got so big and so many tentacles that they had the production in one place, they had their inventory in another place, they had their marketing people in another place, they had the editors in another place, and nobody, one hand didn't know what the next hand was doing. And when Reed asked me to come to Hay House, I said, I need to be able to talk to somebody and get, if I want books in a certain place, to be able to have them there. He said, we will never get that large. And so I put a distance between myself and people who, and that bigness that is in my life. So it's like staying close to nature and keeping yourself in a place where you do have time. I take 90 minutes every single day of my life to walk with my feet on the ground. That doesn't mean with sandals, because if you walk on the earth with sandals, then the whole world is made out of leather, or whatever your sandals are made out of. Walking connected to the earth, connected to God, to the source of all things. 90 minutes a day with my feet either on the sand or in the grass or, or on the ground and so on. And then I say, we'll just do these first 6, and then maybe next week we'll take up the final 6. Put distance between yourself and your critics. Align yourself with people who are like-minded in their search for simplified inspiration. Whether it's your manager, whether it's your attorney, whoever it is, if they're not bringing you peace, if they're not serving your needs in a way that you want to keep your life on purpose and simplified, then you're not removed. Then you're removing yourself from spirit, and inspiration won't be possible.
Mary in Buffalo, New York, wants to create a more simple life. You're on the air with Dr. Dyer today.
I've I've been feeling like I'm doing the breaststroke and quicksand for quite a few years now.
I love that. What a great image. Good for the arms, good for the pecs.
Oh,
it'll make your breasts grow, I guarantee you.
Maybe that's where I need the help. But anyway,
I don't think so.
I've been I'm a single mom, business owner. My business isn't doing great, in a lot of financial debt because I made the choice to be at home with my son who was diagnosed with special needs, and his dad left and decided that it was his mission to bankrupt me, and so I did everything I could to live the way I wanted to live as a mom and a business owner. And now I feel like I can't live simply because I'm just really struggling to not declare bankruptcy, to build my business. Part of me thinks, okay, I should go get a full-time job, but I'm so struggling with day-to-day tasks. I say, how in the world could I ever work a 40 or 45-hour work week? And just the paper, the disarray around the house, there's just always crisis, very reactive living. And how do you go from living reactively
this
to
is really good. It's Mary, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like you got to get the the crises can exist in the world because the world is just the way it is, but they don't have to exist in your mind. You have control over what goes on inside of this beautiful thing of yours called your mind, your intellect, your capacity to connect yourself to something that is all supporting, that is all loving, that is all that works, that is the source of everything. As in China they call it the Tao. Here we call it God or Source or Spirit or whatever it is. But this thing has always allowed everything to come and go exactly in divine order, and you are out of balance with it. I mean, and I know it's like putting the cart before the horse here, saying yes, but if I'm thinking about I'm thinking about all of these crises. And I would say back to you that it's just because you do have your attention on those things that we call crises that you're continuing to attract more and more of them. I really want to recommend a book to you. It's called Ask and It Is Given. I don't know if you've read it or not. It's Esther and Jerry Hicks. Are you familiar with it?
I've heard of them. I have not read that book.
And I'd also recommend that you listen to some of their tapes, some of their CDs.
Okay.
It's called Ask and It Is Given. And hey, you can get it through Hay House, but you can get it in just about any bookstore as well.
Okay.
But I mean, it's really a book written by, it's a channeled book written by someone called Abraham, and it's I don't want to go into it fully in detail here because we just don't have the time.
Right.
But if you can get, even for the next week or so, if you can just get out of this crisis mode, and putting your attention on all the things that are missing and all the things that are wrong and all the things that aren't working, all the people that you're angry at, particularly your husband for, making a decision to bankrupt you. I mean, that's a real harsh statement to make about another human being, and it may very well in your mind be true, but I would bet anything that inside of his heart that wouldn't be what he would say. So whatever it is, it's like shift your attention to these words. Whatever it is that I desire is on its way, just like I said to you about the babysitter and coming over to Toronto and all of that. Mm-hmm. If you just start reprogramming yourself to be in spirit rather than in form, you'll get inspired rather than just more information about what things are bad. When you look at the word information, inform. When you're informed, you get information. When you're in spirit, you get inspired. And you need to be inspired. You really do. I do. And it's a shift. It's a shift that I know a lot of people listening, and I know yourself. It's like when crises are there, but you have the capacity within yourself to process what's going on in your life in terms of it shifting to having what you need and what you desire and what you intend to create come into your life. You have that power. It's within you. And you'll start seeing the right people showing up. What is the business, by the way, real quickly?
It's an internet business where I sell anti-aging products and sports nutritional products.
Are they really good?
They're unbelievably good.
So what's your address? Give it to us real quickly so people listening can tune in and find out and help you.
It's moreforlife.net, moreforlife.net.
Okay, so this is on its way. Everybody listening on all that, just there's thousands and thousands of people. Just go on moreforlife.net and just check out this lady's wonderful products. Are they worked? Are they good?
They're absolutely wonderful. I wouldn't live without them.
Okay, there you go. You're on your way. And you've already had your first plug.
Thank you so much.
And I will see you in Toronto on Monday, Mary. You come up to me, and I want to talk to you. Okay. I want to see some of those anti-aging products, by the way. I want my hair to grow back. I got a lot of things that I need to do.
I won't do anything for your hair, but I'll get rid of wrinkles.
Okay, thanks. I could use that, too.
And let's go to Darlene in Georgia. You're on the air with Dr. Dyer today.
Hi, Darlene.
Well, hi. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good.
You sound it.
Well, thank you. I needed to ask a question. I want to change professions. I just recently quit a job, and I want to go back to doing one that I used to do. And I want to know, how do I know if that's what I'm supposed to be doing?
Well, nobody can confirm that other than you. It's your inner calling. It's your ultimate calling. It's like when you just said, "I want to go back to a profession that I used to be in, but that I'm not in now, and I just left another job." That's all the evidence that you need. I mean, and if you can get passionate about it, and is there a sense of like urgency and compassion and passion about going back to this work that you left one time in your life?
Well, it's something I loved.
It is something you love. Well, that's passion, isn't it? I mean, that's all the clue that you need. You don't need to have it confirmed by anybody else or have God confirm it or whatever. What is that profession that you were having before, that you were doing before? What was the work that you were doing?
Photography.
You were doing photography. You did it privately? You did like weddings and things like that, or?
Before I only did glamour, but I want to go into family and weddings.
And the work that you just left is
in the medical field.
Okay, so you you feel like you have the ability and the capacity and the training and all of that to do that? Do you have an artistic sense about you?
Yes. I just hope it's good enough for everybody else.
Yeah, but how was it when you were doing it? What kind of comments did you get?
Great.
Yeah, see? So, I mean, all of the evidence is there. I mean, it's laid out right in front of you, my Darlene. It's laying out right in front of you. All you have to do is grab a hold of it and say, everything else that I need, the equipment, the customers, the ability to be able to make it happen, the right people showing up, the studios, the filming, all of that will manifest the minute that you start telling yourself, this is my purpose, this is what I'm going to do, I'm going for it, and everything that I need is on its way. It's on its way. Let those words be your...
And the last time we spoke, we were kind of getting through the 12-step program to simplicity, helping people to simplify their lives, reduce all that stress. And when we were talking earlier, you said we would be able to combine the two in a way.
Yes, absolutely, because I think uncluttering our life and simplifying it is a way to is simply a way to eliminate the adversities and things that show up in our lives. First of all, adversity is a word that I don't use very much, and it's a concept that I don't even identify with any longer. As you move more and more along the path, I've been writing for the past 3 or 4 months now on a new book about the Tao, about living the Tao, taking the Tao Te Ching, which was written 2,500 years ago by a great ancient Chinese scholar named Lao Tzu, and who gave us the whole fundamentals for living a profoundly sacred and mystical and perfect life in 81 chapters, and I'm writing 81 essays on each one of those. And one of those I just finished yesterday was verse 26, which was about what I call living calmly. And one of the lines that I found in there is that he says that to be restless is to lose one's self-mastery. That is, to be filled with anxiety, to be filled with stress, to be filled with adversity is really what you do when you allow that into your life is you let go of being the master of your life and you turn it over to events and circumstances and things and people and anything that might show up. And they then begin to have the controls of your life, and they start pulling you in any direction that they want to. The idea of not allowing yourself to, but he said, why should the lord of a country flit about like a fool and not allow yourself to be swayed one way or the other? Is, I think, one of the more important things that we can learn. And in the previous week, when I was talking about these This is from Chapter 8 in Inspiration. I had spoken about uncluttering your life and clearing your calendar of unwanted and unnecessary activities, just being sure that your free time is really free time, taking time for meditation and yoga, something that I do every single day of my life. I can't imagine my life without it. Returning to the simplicity of nature, just being outdoors more and being in contact with the real sounds of the world, the sounds of birds and the sound of the wind and the sound of rain and so on. And ultimately, then putting distance between you and your critics, not allowing yourself to become someone who is subjected to criticism. And then the last 6 of these are the 7th one is to take some time for your health. The number one crisis in America seems to be obesity. I mean, I can't believe when I go into restaurants and when I walk along the boardwalk here on Maui, where I look at it, how many people have allowed themselves to forget something very basic, that your stomach is the size of a fist. It's not the size of a wheelbarrow. And even though we go to restaurants that bring us up, enough food to feed 9 or 10 people, the idea that we have to do that is something that we ought to really be, I think, taking much, much more responsibility for. So if you want to have simplicity in your life and overcome adversity, get yourself into a place called maximum health. Your body is a temple. It's a perfect temple that was created by the source, by God, and it comes from a state of well-being. Just keeping it in its maximum state of well-being is basically a very simple thing to do. And I've said to people over and over again, the more you exercise and the more you do yoga and the more you do these kinds of things. In fact, the yoga instructor said just a few months ago that when you do yoga every single day, what happens is that your body is no longer attracted to foods that are filling, foods that are unhealthy, foods that contain a lot of carbohydrates, a lot of sugars, and so on. It becomes an automatic thing because you're now letting your body be back in harmony with the well-being from which it came. So taking time for your health and making time for that every single solitary day is something that you're never too busy to do. And the 8th one is, I call it play, play, play. And it's really learning to be a child. I was just talking to a friend of mine, Lauren, who's going to be, who just said to me that she spent the last weekend with 3 or 4 little boys she was having fun and she was playing, and her whole time was spent with children. She said, I'm going to see you next week and it'll be really good to be with an adult. I said, I don't know. I've been told that I'm probably the biggest child that you'll ever see in your life. And it's because I think that you have to learn to bridge the dichotomy or the gap between work and play. I never know when people say to me, when are you your work is that you work all the time. I said, no, I don't work all the time. Everything that I do, I enjoy. That I play my way through everything in life. I don't think of work as onerous and difficult and struggling and so on. And I think that taking more time to be playful. Very often when I'm walking along and I see kids playing with a ball, I'll just grab it and start throwing it with them and playing with them, or shoot baskets with them, or to see if I can do somersaults with them and so on. And it keeps adversity away, and it keeps your life in a constant state of joy and fulfillment.
It seems like people might be afraid of looking silly, I guess, to do that, but you're saying just to kind of embrace it and jump in and have more fun.
Well, what I'm really saying, Diane, is that what other people think doesn't really matter.
Right.
It really doesn't. If a group of people look at me and say, "Oh my God, that's Wayne Dyer," and look at him, he's such a big baby, and he's playing all the time, and he's acting so, that doesn't change anything in your life. I think getting to a place, and this is why what I spoke about earlier about adversity, that I don't even use the word adversity because I don't think there is such a thing in the universe. Everything that shows up in our life, everything, all of the accidents, all of the anxieties, all of the breakups in relationships, all of the times when we go broke, the fires that we have that destroy things, the accidents, all of it has got is part of the perfection of the universe. It's not something that's just happening to you and shouldn't be happening to you, and you get to label this is adversity and this is positivity. It's all of it is there to teach us something grand and something delightful, and that helps us move to higher and more spiritual places. So the way that you eliminate adversity is literally to be thankful for it and to say thank you for everything that is showing up in my life. It is going to teach me something profound. And some of the most difficult and very troublesome kinds of things that have occurred to me in my life, what I thought were at the time, have taught me how to be a better writer, a better speaker, a kinder person, a better human being. Because true nobility, it's not about being better than other people. It's about being better than you used to be. And the way that you get better at being than you used to be is by having these challenges show up and then transcending them and overcoming them. I don't look back on my days of drinking, which stopped 17 years ago, as anything other than great and wonderful events that helped me. All of that drinking and all of that behavior and the drugs that I did and all of those kinds of things have helped me to become a stronger, more purified, more decent, better human being, better husband, better father, better speaker, better man as a person. Anyway, let me try to get through the rest of these. We just have a few moments.
Okay.
Were you going to say something, Diane?
Well, I was going to say, do you think people get caught up in the why me kind of mentality?
Yeah, I think they do. Instead of saying, why not me? Thank you. Thank you for all of it, every single bit of it. I mean, there's a slogan here on Maui that says, no rain, no rainbows. So I always remind people of that whenever there's a rainy day and the tourists are all here and they're all upset about the rain. I say, but you see all those rainbows that you just love every day? They have rainbows over here on the island. You can't have them without the rain. And I think it's a good symbol for our lives.
Mm-hmm.
The ninth one is called slowing down. One of the things that Gandhi said that's really, I think, very important is that there's more to life than making things go faster and making it always increase our speed. That the idea that we have to get there fast, we have to be ahead of the other person, slowing ourselves down. In the 26th verse of the Tao that I was writing about this morning, it talks about the stillness, about being able to. That stillness is the mother of unrest. In other words, the master of unrest. In other words, in order to be able to get to a place where you are no longer filled with unrest, you have to go to this place of stillness, this place of quiet, this place of peace that is within each and every one of us. And that means not telling yourself that you have to be there ahead of the other guy, not rushing through the traffic lights, but meditating your way through when a yellow light comes, instead of rushing through it, that's just a habit. Instead of that, just slowing down, putting your foot on the brake and saying, thank you for 1 minute to just sit here and be at peace and be kind and be in a sense of harmony with my source, which is always at peace. Also, I said, do everything that you can to eliminate debt in your life, because all of the debt that you have, the credit card debt, the money that you owe the banks, the mortgages, all of those kinds of things are a way of giving up control of your life and putting it into the hands of someone who will be controlling the purse strings of your life. And also to let go of your idea about everything is evaluated on the basis of how much it costs or how much it's worth. Try to take the dollar value off of things and just enjoy everything in your life for what it is.
Okay, we're going to go to Monisha in Dubai. You are on the air with Dr. Wayne Dyer today.
Hello.
Dr. Dyer.
Hey, you're calling from Dubai?
Yeah, I'm calling you from Dubai.
Well, why aren't you guarding the ports? You're supposed to be taking care of my port.
I am. I'm doing that too. I'm everywhere
okay.
at the same
You're
time.
very busy. You're multitasking, huh? Thank you.
Exactly. I'm trying to put some of your principles to work.
Great. Well, tell me, what's your call about? Thanks for calling. What time is it there?
First of all, I'd like to thank you for all the wisdom and all the knowledge that you brought to our age, to our generation. I mean, you're just doing so much for us, which can't be described in words. I've read all your current books, Inspiration, Power of Intention. I read every book that you recommend, from Ask and It's Given to you name it, and I've read all of them. So I'm like your biggest fan.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You're very welcome. My problem is that for the past 1 year, has been very transformative for me. I've found myself drifting away from the materialistic world, so to speak. I feel a yearning to live in spirit. Like, I find myself spending most of my time meditating, reading, writing, and generally I find myself wanting to live a quiet and reflective life. This is very much in contrast to the way I used to be. I feel that this gives me more satisfaction. I feel like I'm living a fuller life, a richer life. But this in turn has made me feel like I might be neglecting people who are important to me, such as my friends, and I just don't know how to balance.
Well, the way to balance that is to understand that friends are really people who love you for what you are, and not for what not for meeting their expectations. That's truly what a friend is, and that's what a lover is. That's what anybody who truly, absolutely loves at the level of spirit, at the level of God. That's the way they come to you. So you don't have anything to worry about. You don't have to be concerned that you're neglecting others and so on. If your inner spirit is telling you to go within, to get quiet, to write, to make a difference, to be at peace, to convey that peace to the world, to change things, that's what I call your ultimate calling in inspiration. It's a calling that you can't ignore. This isn't happening to you just because you have read a few books or because you're going through changes in your life. What happens for almost all of us, that I call it, and I'm going to write a book about this down the road, I call it the difference between the morning and the afternoon of your life. In the morning of your life, you are taught certain kinds of things. You're taught to have goals. You're taught to be really ultimately concerned about your career, about how much money you make, and about getting married, and about being a good mother, and being a good sister, and being a good child, and fitting in, and playing the game in lots of ways, to think about yourself, to see yourself as a body with a soul rather than as a soul with a body. These are all the things that we learn in our schools, in our families, in our institutions, in our homes. This gets thrown at us all the time. There's nothing wrong with it, but by the time we reach the afternoon of our life, and that can happen very early, very young in your life. It can happen even in your mid to late 20s. By the time you get to this place in your life where the primary emphasis that you want for yourself here in this life is no longer about the goals that you have or how much money you make or who you appease, but your ultimate afternoon of your life is really about being closer to God, about feeling a sense of purpose, about making a difference in the world, about feeling love and giving it everywhere. And you try to live the afternoon of your life by the rules that you learned in the morning of your life, and what happens is that they become lies. That was Carl Jung said, the truths of the morning of your life become lies in the afternoon of your life. And what you're really saying here, Manisha, is that you can't live by those lies internally, no matter what it is that anybody around you says. And I think honoring that will bring you the kinds of friends and love and joy that you really seek, rather than just fitting in and fulfilling some goals that have been handed to you when you were a young girl. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That puts everything into perspective.
Yeah.
That makes complete sense.
Yeah, so it's like you can't stop it, even if you wanted to. Even if I could give you the advice and say, okay, stop meditating, stop thinking about God, stop thinking about love, stop thinking about making a difference in the world, stop thinking about all of that, and go back to your friends and do everything. You couldn't do it anyway, because you're being called to fulfill a destiny that you signed up for before you even showed up here in the world of form, way before the morning of your life, before the dawn of your life. You signed up to be where you are now, and this is God speaking to you, and I would listen very carefully. That's my advice, sweetheart.
Yeah, that's exactly the way I feel. And when you said all of this, I felt like I already knew the answers within, but for some reason I needed you to spell it out for me. So
I'm so glad you go. What time of day is it there now?
It's midnight.
It's midnight. That's what I thought. Yeah, so it's 10 o'clock in the morning where I am. Imagine that we're on the same planet, spinning around, and it's dark where you are, and it's morning where I am. It's the morning of my life today, and it's the evening of yours.
Absolutely.
I'd love to come to your country someday. I've been invited several times.
I would love to invite you. I really, this is my deepest desire, that someday you come here, and I'm going to do my best to, organize something or fulfill this desire and get you here.
I'd love to come. I was invited once before, and I'm sure I'll get there. I know that there's a great art. My friend Deepak Chopra has spoken there several times. And,
I know. I have attended all his conferences.
Have you?
Here,
He's asked me to go. He asked me to go with him. So I'll do it. You make it happen. Are you from India?
I'm from India, exactly.
Yeah,
and I really relate to all these saints and spiritual masters that you talk about, and that Deepak Chopra talks about. So I really relate to you people. In fact, I feel in a certain way we're all soulmates. I feel a certain connection and a certain bonding with you, and it's not just something that I'm saying. I can actually
we
feel
both
it.
originated from the same source, didn't we? I mean, we're not these bodies. Certainly, we know the bodies come and go, but the source is eternal. I'd urge you to read Left to Tell. Have you had a chance to look at that yet, Immaculate?
Yes, I read the whole book. I read every book that you recommend, yes. And it brought tears to my eyes. And, oh, my God, that book was just, It's
really one of the most astonishing things I've ever read in my life. And she's one of the really great, she's really a saint that walks among us, yes.
Well, thanks so much
Definitely.
for
And
getting in touch, Monisha.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time.
Namaste.
It really is amazing how small the world is when you get those calls. She's all the way in Dubai,
Yes.
and still listening to the message. So it's great to listen to that voice. I believe is what you were saying.
Yeah, what a great call. It was really, really nice.
That's so true. Going to line 6, let's check in with Cassandra and get her on with you today. Cassandra, you're on with Dr. Wayne Dyer.
Hi, Cassandra. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Sumter, South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Probably
Big
never
Civil
happened,
War battle
but,
there, as I recall, wasn't there?
Yeah, actually, my husband's stationed on Shaw, Shaw Air Force Base.
Oh, okay.
So he's an airman, but I'm going through something right now, and I'm kind of wanting to know why all this is happening to me in my life. At 15, my dad died unexpectedly of, an aortic aneurysm, and then I dealt with that somewhat decent. I don't want to say great, but I was only 15, and then I got married, and my husband and I struggled for 4.5 years to get pregnant with one miscarriage along the way. And we got pregnant in November last year. We found out December 8th, and then on April 4th, we found out that the baby was really sick. And I ended up delivering a stillborn on April 19th. And I'm just not quite sure why all this is happening and how to get through it.
Yeah, I can hear your pain. First of all, as you move along this path that I'm writing about, especially on inspiration, you find out that all of the greatest teachers who've ever walked among us, including Jesus, all of them, have taught us that death is not a punishment, that it is the inevitability of all things, that everything that composes decomposes. And the question isn't whether it's going to decompose. The question that we have as human beings is, how long is it going to take? How much time do we get? When you say the words, my father died unexpectedly, my immediate response to that is unexpected to you.
Yeah.
But not to God, and not, and that the moment that your father was conceived and the moment that he showed up on this planet, his birth was here, independent of his opinion about it, and so was his death. And the same is true of the miscarriages that you've had and the stillbirths that you've had, that there's a perfection in all of this, and that these souls who showed up very, very temporarily, and then for whatever reason that none of us will ever be privy to, weren't ready to show up into this world. What you are doing with it is you're taking it personally. You're saying to yourself that, why me, and how could something so terrible as this happen, and how much of this kind of thing do I have to put up with before I'll have peace in my life? And I'm saying to you, have peace in your life now, and even be in a state of gratitude for just the fact that you've been able to participate in the dance of life. You've already created life twice. And because it didn't last as long as you thought it should last, that's just our ego at work. That's all that is.